Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. Happy Monday. And as you can all see, we have Mr. Monty back, who's a fan favorite in some circles. So we're happy to have him back. But you know the crew, we got Altcoin Season Ryan with us, as well as Monty and CJ, our crypto analysts from marketrebellion.com. And I wasn't even supposed to talk. We were just supposed to go to the legals.
This is just a reminder that all content provided by Trade the Chain and Market Rebellion is strictly for educational and informational purposes only. Absolutely none of this is investment advice, and it should not be construed as such. Here we are.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Trade the Chain. It is August 2nd. We are more than halfway through what we speculate to be our range-bound season. That should be a new shirt, range-bound season. But thank you all for joining us. I'm really excited today. We all heard that news from Voyager this morning with Coinify and the payment rail acquisition. That's always fun. Steve just has a lot of good news coming out. So I'm really happy how they're building their stuff out. With that, you can always go watch the episode if you like. And while you're here, if you could support us by hitting like and subscribe, that'd be great. I actually say that once every 3 months, so appreciate it. Gentlemen, anything to chat about on this Monday? How was everybody's weekend?
It's good.
I'm curious. I want to ask Monty about his experience at that trading card conference and how liquidity was for his lower cap sold items. Were you able to gain some more capital?
That's a great.
Yes. So the plan was to go there, sell some cards. You know, I have a lot of cards. I was gonna sell some, get some dry powder, and buy some more crypto, right? Because I've been buying dips relentlessly, running out of dry powder here. But unfortunately, when I got there, I was a bit overwhelmed by all the beautiful cards and all the flashy stuff, and I ended up buying almost as much as I sold. So I came out about even, left with some new cards. Met some great people. It was incredible. 5 days of, just 6 hours a day of just cards. And there was 10,000 people there, over 1,000 vendors. And I saw some absolutely incredible cards. So it was awesome.
Nice.
Wow.
Man.
Could you tell the folks briefly about the most expensive card that sold? Because this is pretty astounding. You told me earlier this morning.
Yeah, so a Patrick Mahomes rookie card sold for $4.3 million while I was there.
What?
Here.
4 years.
Let me pull up this article. What was that, Ryan?
You guys been in the league for 4 years. You'd expect a Babe Ruth rookie card to sell for $4.3 million, not Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, you'd think so, but it's shattered record, sold for $4.3 million. I did actually get to see the card before it was sold. I bought some cards from this guy as well. Nothing even close to this nice, but here's the card right here. 1 of 1, Patrick Mahomes rookie patch auto with the shield here. I mean, absolutely beautiful card, but yeah, I mean, 4.3 million.
I can't wait till this guy NFTs it.
You bring up a good point, though, Ryan. I know we're not getting into the price analysis like we normally do, but I think this point is important because it probably, if you go to conferences like this, and if you're in the space like Monty isn't involved in these collectibles, it makes you able to understand the value of NFTs a lot more and how people psychologically value things based on whether it be the artist who created them, the scarcity or the number of cards or NFTs or crypto punks, whatever you want to compare. So I think it is still pretty relevant with that.
Well, hold on, CJ. Let's go back to that CryptoPunks. I mean, I've been following this CryptoPunks thing, and it's not for long. I just got onto it when I started seeing people's avatars changing on social media, and then found out these people are paying anywhere from $69,000-$70,000, which is about the cheapest you can buy one right now, all the way up to hundreds of thousands. I think a couple traded for over $1 million. And there are these digitized emojis, kind of people.
Some guy Some guy, Alex, was on Twitter complaining about how he paid $433,000 for one of these. And then everyone was just taking it and using it as their avatar on Twitter. And he was upset that he paid all that money when people are just copy pasting it into their own Twitter.
Oh my God, that's so
I choked
great.
on my glass of water. I laughed so hard. Like, I felt bad for the guy, but at the same time, it's like, what do you expect?
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I absolutely did. I choked. I laughed so hard. It was funny. It's funny that people are just doing that to him. Like, how do you stop that? Like, what's the point of buying one of those NFTs if someone can just take it and upload it and take a screenshot of it, upload it, and make it their avatar?
I'm kind of with you on that, dude. Really, kind of with you.
All right, I don't want to go into a huge NFT debate and how humans psychologically value things and bog down the show, but why don't we get to the price analysis? And
tell us why Bitcoin lost its support.
Sure. Let me get into the charts here.
Monty's kind of happy today. He came home with some good cards.
Had a good weekend, did he?
I did.
Nice.
Okay, let's discuss. So first thing I want to do here is show you guys kind of Fibonacci retracements and how they play into Bitcoin's current price action. I don't use Fibonacci retracements a lot, but I believe in using them in very obvious cases because that's probably when the most people are going to be using them. So in this case, we have a textbook Fibonacci retracement where we go from the top of the recent rally all the way down to our recent bottom. And so with that extrapolated price, we can see that this resistance level at, wow, it is literally perfect on that one wick you can see there. But that 3.8 level at about 42.5 is serving as resistance. And I just don't think we have the momentum right now to break that like immediately. I think we need to go down and test this level. The moving average is then going to come up over the next couple of days. I think this is an area of very viable support for the overall Bitcoin trend. And I do expect to see kind of a breakthrough and test of this 0.5 level coming up in the next couple of weeks. And I'll get kind of more into that because I think Ethereum might actually be a leading indicator and might clear up this formation and this little chop that we have currently. And I'll explain to you guys what exactly I mean by that. But let's go over to the Market Rebellion platform and bring up ETH real quickly because it's got a very interesting pattern. And not only are we seeing this W pattern on ETH, but we're also seeing it all over the crypto space and things like the altcoin market cap, total 2, the DeFi perpetual index. And so if we look at this W bottoming pattern right here, it's a pretty textbook pattern in terms of what we see in technical analysis. You know, we have a left bottom characteristically with a lot of volume. And if we go back to the chart here, we can see that the most volume actually did occur on this left shoulder, which is characteristic with a capitulation level. Then on the second test, there's actually less bearish volume. And so that means we're having less bearish momentum. And then usually what we'll have once we break through on the furthermost right W is we'll have a back test of the neckline. In this case, it would be about 2,200, maybe 2,400 actually. But it's really interesting to note that this W pattern is actually in perfect confluence with these Fibonacci levels. So the more confluence you get among indicators and critical levels, I think the higher likelihood of the pattern actually playing out. So just to briefly take a look at some charts that display this W pattern, I mean, let's look at total. It's there, but it's not perfect. Very evident there in the altcoin market cap. If we look at our altcoin perpetuals, very evident W pattern, another very evident W pattern. And another thing that I really like is all of these are getting above their moving average, which I think is very critical for the overall trend. Now, if we want to look at things from a little bit longer of a time frame, I really like that we're starting to get bullish crossovers or potential bullish crossovers in the near-term future on both the MACD weekly and the True Strength Index, TSI. I think it's extraordinarily notable that we didn't get a bullish crossover or even a turn up in the MACD or Truth Strength Index during the beginning of the bear market of 2018. I mean, we just had overwhelming bearish momentum all throughout that period of time. And that's not consistent with what we're seeing now, which makes me more optimistic that this is actually a very strong and high probability bottom that we've seen since this breakout. A couple fundamental metrics here just to finish up. Bitcoin illiquid supply. So we actually have a new all-time high in terms of Bitcoin illiquid supply and Bitcoin that's been moved off of exchanges into cold storage. And typically what this results in is a lot of volatility in the marketplace, because if you have less Bitcoin to buy on spot exchanges and there's less Bitcoin liquidity in overall order books, that's what leads to these massive spikes in volume and in price when we get a lot of volatility due to the illiquid supply chain. So it's going to be interesting to see how that impacts the market if we are to continue going up. Last thing I forgot to mention that is actually a pretty big deal is the infrastructure bill that is being proposed. I'm sure you guys have heard of this. Obviously, it's being modified. Congress individuals are working to improve it to give it a little bit more flexibility to the cryptocurrency industry, but that could be a potential black swan event that could seriously knock us back down to the 30K price level. But I'll say with very strong conviction, I don't think we're going back down below the moving average or to retest a bottom unless we have some type of black swan event that is somewhat of a known unknown right now. So long answer, but I'll wrap it up there.
You mentioned the technical formation that ETH is taking and how it looks like it's set for an even higher breakout to the upside. It's had 12 winning trading sessions in a row, which is an all-time record for Ethereum. And if you look at sentiment surging right now, I mean, it just feels like it's poised to break out. How high do you think this rally can run in ETH in advance of the London hard fork?
Well, I actually expect a pullback in ETH to the neckline of that W pattern. I do expect it to go up, but of course, sentiment's going to be high. Like, trading has been profitable for the past 12 days, but for those individuals who bought below 2K or just over 2K, I think this is a great technical level. If you're going up against resistance with low volume, that's a great place to take profit, because a lot of traders like to do that, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You take profit on the way up, you still have that. Then you can buy the dip and acquire even more Ethereum for that second leg rally. I don't know how much the fork, this is how the fork plays into Ethereum's price. It actually leads to a lockup in a lot of ETH because they're staking for ETH 2.0. I think ETH has more Ethereum staked for ETH 2.0 than ever before. So like that illiquid supply in Bitcoin, it's going to push price up higher, even with only a little demand. So maybe short-term pullback, but for the rest of the month, I am very bullish in Ethereum and Bitcoin.
Monty, we were talking briefly about NFTs at the beginning of the show as it relates to trading cards, right? And that ridiculous price paid for that Patrick Mahomes rookie card. I mean, good for the guy who got the money, but that's insane. Trading volume of NFTs on Ethereum reached an all-time high just last week. What do you think is behind that sudden pop? Because they've been kind of fading for a little while, then slowly building. All of a sudden, we're mooning again in terms of volume, 338% higher than the same week in the previous month. What do you think is behind that?
Yeah, that's really interesting, Ryan. And I think it has something to do with kind of the timing of this current market and just the sort of range-bound nature that we're in. I think people look to those more speculative plays within crypto when we are range-bound. We saw it last year with DeFi Summer. We even saw it, the last time NFTs ran up. Crypto itself was looking strong, but it wasn't moving anything crazy. I think now that, there's time for people to explore these other options, people are looking at some of these NFT plays. There's been so many over the last month that have performed tremendously well. I think, it's just kind of an example of the fact that we're just in a range-bound market. People aren't necessarily looking at trading the underlying asset, but they're looking at these new avenues to invest in crypto products, and NFTs is kind of filling that void.
No.
Well, when it comes to, here we go. We have a question. How about 7K want to add to StormX bags? I hold VGX. Wow, look at that. Is this the same one from yesterday?
I think so, yeah. It feels like the same guy.
Wait for the short correction in your non-advice advice. Well, let's rephrase that, Zeke, because it is a good question, but let's rephrase this. Is there buying opportunities in the market with the short correction, or is this where, well, let's put it to how crypto Twitter says it. Are people missing out on the bottom? Do you guys think that we are trending upwards through the end of August into that second leg? Because I do. I mean, I will put that out on the line and say that. I don't think we're going to see any sort of, red tag sales for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think when CJ highlighted the sort of range we're seeing and he showed the moving average turning up, I think that that's a great depiction of the fact that we are trending upwards. And I think now is not the time to be afraid of interim dips because we're starting to establish critical support to the downside. We got the moving averages turning up, the market's looking stronger, we got buyers stepping in, we have institutions establishing infrastructure. I think the potential for a quick move to the upside is starting to outweigh the potential for a significant move to the downside. So even though there is a potential, like CJ pointed out, for a retest of Bitcoin's moving average, 20-period smooth moving average, right around 37, 38K, I don't think it's a bad time to accumulate assets like StormX because it does really feel like we're going to be trending up for the rest of the year. And if that is the case, I think a lot of alts can perform tremendously well. And based on what we saw, look at StormX's chart. I mean, this thing went parabolic in a matter of days. So I think not being afraid to accumulate, even though there is the possibility of a bit of a, sell off to that moving average, could be very profitable in the long term.
Yeah, and I agree. I will say though, just pulling up Zeke's, holdings here. Oh, sorry, Ryan, I cut your head off with the graphics there. There's a couple of these holdings that I do agree with, and when it comes to it, I mean, now is like one of those DCA times, right? So if you have had the dry powder, you're not looking for quick arbitrage opportunities. This summer has been great for just DCAing and doing those regular buys, so you dollar cost average out. But to your point with StormX, we have StormX has had a run on good news, and I really think we're pulling up around that 0.021 mark, 0.022 mark. That's a big difference, Monty, than where we were just a short time ago at 0.015. That $9 million raise was good. Their partnership with the Portland Trailblazers was good. So Simon's keeping it going.
And Simon was clear that they're looking for further partnerships. They're looking for further opportunities to expand, and they're going to have more announcements coming in the near term. So I'm going to have to agree with both of you guys. I think now if I'm looking at something like a StormX, I think now is the time that I'd like to start reaccumulating an asset that I took some profit in earlier in the year after I got that 140% upside trade. I think now's a good time for myself to get back in for sure.
Oh, I actually agree. I'm in STMX buying mode as well. I mean, particularly since the raise and our chats with Simon over the last couple of weeks. But Thomas C, do I still think it's? And I think it's a 25-cent ticker. I think you're going to see a lot of visibility and a lot of people meeting StormX for the first time. So especially with this NBA partnership.
Chef Dan, always go grilled.
I like fried shrimp. I like fried shrimp.
You gotta go grilled. Unless you fry it in like olive oil and garlic. Like gambas al ajillo, like Spanish style. That's delicious.
Chef Dan, thank you. All right, let's hit the news because the only one making money while we're all jibber jabbing is this guy right here, and that is that's Square, Jack Dorsey. I mean, the guy, the Cash App. Ryan, you do it.
Yeah, so in Square's revenue or earnings call earlier today, they announced that their Bitcoin revenue rose 200%. Um, that's substantial. I mean, the fact that people are trading that much more Bitcoin, buying and selling that much more Bitcoin on Cash App just shows you the demand from the retail crowd and from everyday people who may not necessarily be considered integral to Bitcoin's future, at least by the Wall Street crowd or by a lot of the prosumer traders. But there is a lot of demand and a lot of usage on Main Street, and that impairment loss. That just, if you're unfamiliar with what impairment loss means, that other part of the headline, that just means that the Bitcoin that Square holds on its balance sheet went down $45 million worth. So that's just due to the sell-off in the market. That doesn't mean that they lost revenue. That doesn't mean that they took any other hit. It's just a write-down on paper, the same as you have. If you were holding Bitcoin, it went down the same percent as yours, right? One thing that's worth considering, I saw somewhere on Twitter, though, and that's not on here, regardless of Bitcoin gross profit jumping to 55 million from 17 million over year on year, that the profit on a percent basis only worked out to about 2%. So I'm wondering why they only have a 2% profit margin on Bitcoin there. That seems low compared to, say, like a Coinbase or other fiat on-ramps that, through arbitrage are able to make a bit more than that. So, I mean, that might be a little concerning, but overall, it's a good sign for the crypto markets that Bitcoin trading volume and revenue has gone up this much for Square, for sure.
Well, I also think you're right, though. I mean, there's such a slim profit margin is also, due to impairment loss, right? So it's not like what people experience when they're doing yield farming, and they have impermanent loss from two cryptos that are not stabilized. The same effect is having it with Bitcoin, right? So I think there's been, I think maybe the reduced profit was the sudden 50% drop in Bitcoin. Would I be correct in that, Ryan? On their
because there's a difference. The way they segment out the earnings statement, they have the Bitcoin on their balance sheet, right? That's what went down, I think, 45 million. And then they also have revenue from Bitcoin trading by customers, and they only had a 2% profit margin on that trading through customers. So either they're charging very low fees, perhaps too low fees to customers, or they're not taking enough of a profit off the back end on arbitrage opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys, CJ, Monty, if you're familiar with the spreads on Cash App, but you must be able to drive a truck through them. Just my 2 cents. But folks, also here's the shareholders letter. So if you want to read it, I put the link in the live chat. So you can take a look at that if you need some good bathroom reading material. But that's it. All right, CJ, Monty, who do you guys have coming up this week as guests on Market Rebellion? Anybody fantastic besides your fantastic selves?
Tony Dwyer is coming on the Market Rebellion roundtable later today, I believe. And cool. He's a macro analyst who has really been correct and has been a macro bull similar to Tom Lee. So it'll be interesting to see him talk later today. I'm sure he's still pretty bullish on the S&P 500 and markets collectively. So yeah, that'll be interesting.
And that's something we didn't touch on today, CJ, is the general equity markets. But I know you've been feeling pretty bullish on it. So I will be curious to hear what Tony Dwyer has to say, because there is no doubt that if we get a big sell-off in the traditional equity markets, we would see a bit of that bleed over into, Bitcoin. So, this was I started sharing this earlier. I just wanted to show how quickly StormX moved up. I mean, look at this. In a matter of just 2 weeks, this thing went from, less than a cent to 9 cents. I think that it can definitely move at a similar rate, especially given all the things we talked about, partnerships, staking, the amount of members they've signed up over this period. I think that, if that move does happen, it will happen very quickly.
Very cool. Why are Monty and CJ holding their mics? Because that's what cool people do in crypto. One of the interesting things is I've actually seen that gentleman, I believe, on your show. It was just in last month in July, I believe he was on. So I'm curious to see what he has to say. A couple of things, and I know Ryan and I spoke about this in our own Trade the Chain chat the other day, is to keep an eye on, folks, is the infrastructure bill. I think CJ's correct.
What I was just going to say.
Yeah.
I was just going to bring that up. The last time we had an infrastructure project of this size was was that right after World War II, right? And that just immediately boosted the economy and supported the stock market. All the overbought stocks right now and the overinflated valuations in the stock market, if the infrastructure bill passes by the end of August, like it's expected to, I mean, the stock market's just going to keep rallying and rallying and rallying to all the extra money in the economy and it's just going to be the stock market.
It depends on how they amend it, right? Because on the flip side, it could be the black swan event for crypto. And that's, well, I know we say that, but we got to keep the story going, okay? So
they've already narrowed the scope. When we were talking on Saturday, Alex, right? Saturday morning, chatting on WhatsApp, we were talking about how even non-custodial wallets and DEXs now had to file 1099 forms for their clients and customers. Now, all of a sudden, they don't necessarily have to do that because I think lawmakers had a few conversations with people who understand the industry and realized, well, that might not even be possible.
So they've edited that out already?
The DEX part, yes, and I think the non-custodial wallet part, yes, too.
Then I'm good. Show's over. We can go now.
I'm pretty sure they edited that out or modified the language to kind of make it more reasonable, but the scope has definitely been narrowed.
Very cool. All right, folks, before we put CJ to sleep, let you guys go check out marketrebellion.com/crypto. Start for just $1, as well as tradethechain.com, 14 days risk-free. Hang onto your handlebars. Before, one last thing I'm going to throw in, Monty, how much is a LeBron rookie card these days?
So it depends on, the rarity of it. Like at the high end, there are some that would be like, that Patrick Mahomes, a comparable one, would sell for millions of dollars. There are some out there, they just haven't been sold. But like a 2003 LeBron Topps Chrome Black Refractor PSA 10 sells for like $220,000. But then there's other ones, I have some LeBron Bazooka rookies that are worth like $200. So very wide range.
Aside from PSA 10, I don't know what the rest of that meant that you said. I used to collect baseball cards, so I get the grading scale. But other than that, I
think Monty has a bazooka. I'm not quite sure. All right.
Yeah.
Folks, hang on to your handlebars. Thank you for joining us today. We're all a little chipper because of the Voyager news from earlier this morning. I'm sure a lot of you guys are as well. We will see you tomorrow on Trade the Chain. Thank you.
Aquin Summer.